Hey guys, my name's Ben Howard, and it looks like we're going to be dealing with a bunch of rain all this week, so bringing everything inside today, and I'm going to try and film like 3 videos today. Not sure what the really schedule for all these videos is going to be, but first one we're going to talk about is one you obviously saw in the title. I'm going to go 100% Goliath for the rest of this year, so if there's another reason my in the bag at the beginning of this year is outdated, here's another one. So I really wanted to try this because I really find it interesting watching like professionals do something like this, like trying to fill 100% of their bag with one brand, because you end up finding a lot of gaps or a lot of holes in their lineup. Obviously, with Goliath being a much smaller company, those gaps are going to be a lot bigger than something like Innova, Discraft, something like that. So I really just wanted to try this out because I figured it'd be a good thing for my game to be able to, deal with having a hole in my bag, deal with not having that one certain shot that I really like having in my bag. But having 100% Goliath is just kind of like a side thing for this series that I really want to branch off from this, because my goal for this year is I want to shoot a 1,000 rated round with 100% Goliath. So what I want to do is, like, going into each tournament that I'm playing, I really wanted to go in and break down the course, break down the tournament, break down my entire game plan, and really figure it out, and really putting a lot of thought and effort into each one of them, and not really just playing casually through them. I think that's one thing that really kills me in a lot of tournaments, is that I just don't take them as seriously, or I go out thinking, oh yeah, I've played this course dozens of times, I'll be fine, when, like, especially if you don't play a course for a long time, you really need to figure out what you're doing. So I'm probably going to do more talking head videos like this going into a tournament, unless I'm able to get out there and actually film a practice round before them, which, we'll kind of see. I'm still not 100% certain what I'd like to do for this series, so please give me any ideas you've got. But I'm thinking, yeah, like a talking head video going into the tournament, talking about each hole, what I'm going to do, and really just break the course down that way. I'll also be interested in trying like some kind of vlogging style videos. I definitely won't film during the tournament unless I have somebody else there with me. But I definitely don't want to bother anybody else on my card trying to set up tripods, and especially I don't want to try and go into that like not knowing what I'm doing. So if I get somebody to help me, I might film some shots and film some stuff during tournaments, but odds are it might just be a talking head video before and after. But then after the tournament, I'd go through and break down everything that happened during the tournament and really just try and figure out what improvements I can make, what adjustments I might need to make to the bag, stuff like that. If y'all are interested in this series, please let me know. If you have any suggestions for other stuff I should try, please let me know. I'm really looking forward to trying this out because this is going to be a lot of fun. But yeah, so for the rest of this video, we're going to be taking apart my bag and then trying to put Goliath in every slot that I possibly can. I also do want to kind of make this like a pseudo in the bag, like kind of talking through everything. Maybe not quite as in depth, but I definitely do kind of want to brush over the entire bag so that way when I'm talking through some of those other videos, we can, have an idea of what's going on with my bag. But getting into everything, of course, I'm still putting with these OT Waymakers. I've been getting really comfortable with these in Circle 2 lately. So I think if I start putting in some more practice, especially in that edge of Circle 2, like 40, 45 foot range, I think I can start dialing in some of that stuff. But yeah, that's not changing, obviously. In this front pocket right here is where I keep all my really flippy stuff. Only thing in here that's going to have to come out is going to have to be the Halo Sonic, which I'm not really too worried about taking this one out because I do have this really beat up Genesis, which kind of flies the same, on the same like power and lines and everything. It's just going to be weird not having the Sonic for those like really touchy approach shots, but I do think that with a little bit of time and effort, I can get this Genesis to feel basically the same. The other disc I have in this pocket is the Ambush. Will I use this in tournaments? Probably not, but it's always nice to have just in case you need those like really touchy rollers. So that's going to go there. And then for the rest of my throwing putters, I only have one adjustment I need to make because I did just put one of these North Cove Lunas in my bag, so that's got to come out, which is kind of unfortunate. I put this in the bag because I wanted it to be a more overstable version of my Gloasis Genesis, but I really do think these are just too similar to really have both of these in the bag, and I probably would have just ended up throwing this more than my Genesis, so if anything, it's probably a good thing that I'm taking this out of the bag. That is one slot I've been trying to fill for a while was that like slightly overstable glidey putter. I think that's going to be the first one of those slots that I'm just going to have to deal with not having in the bag, or have to, you know, accommodate as I can. But yeah, the only other, this one's just another OT Genesis that I want to try and beat up to be like this one, or at least get it to wear down. But yeah, so we've got really flippy putter, really flippy roller disc, kind of flippy putter, straight putter. Then for my approach discs, this first one we're looking at is the Waymaker. This is just one that I haven't been confident with. I don't know if it's the flat top or if it's just this plastic's not very grippy, or there's one thing I always deal with is I have dry hands. Like if you ever see me blowing into my hand and stuff, that's why. Just try and give myself some form of grip. And the Waymaker for some reason just loves to slide right out of my hand in the Oasis plastic. But this is the closest I'm going to get to that glidey overstable putter. These are not glidey, but I can get them out to like 200-ish feet. And they're great for whenever I need to throw a putter and I don't want to throw the Genesis because the Genesis glides too much. And I also might start throwing this in some forehand shots because this is very similar to a zone level of stability, maybe a little bit less stable than a zone. So might have to start working with that. It's going to be a little awkward because it has a pretty big bead. But like I said, we're going to have to make exceptions. We're going to have to start working on stuff. And so I think that's going to be something I'm going to have to start working with, is just trying to forehand that. Next up, we got the Pillar. This one's going to be my main like zone type approach disc. But these are a lot more overstable than a zone and don't have near as much glide as a zone. So I'm going to have to work on that. I'm probably going to have to start like anti-chopping these things, which I don't really want to do that if I don't have to, because that's one thing I've been working on with my forehand, is trying not to chop everything on Anheuser. So we'll see. That's another reason why I'd like to get the Waymaker to work for my forehand, is just so that way I'm not having to chop these things over all the time. But these are going to be nice to have just for those really touchy approach shots, especially since I don't have the Sonic in the bag anymore. These are probably going to be those approach discs that I use for those really touchy shots, especially those approach shots that I need to get them to land on certain angles and match the angle of the ground. I have my Samson in this approach disc slot, but I'm going to save this and talk about this when we get to mid-ranges, so just ignore that for now. But the two that are going to be coming out of my bag are going to be the Zone and the Savior. Zone, I think I can get away with not having in the bag. The main reason I like just having this is because of that thumb track that you get out of these. I also don't have to throw near as hard to get them to go as far, but like I said, I think we can get away with not having that in the bag. The Savior is going to be the one that hurts because these things are so flippy that, like, I love them for those just turnover shots where I don't even get them to really flatten out all the way for forehands, and like, or just really straight forehands. So I'm going to have to figure out what I'm going to need to do for this one. Once again, I'm kind of hoping the Waymaker kind of fills that slot for me, but I don't know. We'll see. Then getting to my mid-ranges, this is a section I'm really not too worried about in my bag because the two main mid-ranges I have in my bag are both Gyrus. This pink one is just really straight one, like has that really nice, almost buzz-like flight, but not quite as overstable as a buzz. I think these are more comparable like a Mako 3, but these like new ones are just really straight and are a disc you can throw on almost any shot. Then the Skull Oasis one is just a really beat up version of that one where I can get the kind of hyzer flip, or if I throw it flat, it'll kind of just drift to the right. So having these two in the bag, most of my mid-range shots are covered. It's just going to be those ones on the edges that are really kind of hard to fill in. So like, for example, like the Paradox is going to have to come out of my bag, which is going to be annoying because this is I'm not confident in my forehand, so I'm going to throw a backhand to get it to fly like a forehand disc. So I did order a OT Genesis, which I'm hoping I can get to beat up and be something like this, but odds are we're just going to have to make do with what we got on that. My straight to overstable disc, I've had the Stokely Cardinal in my bag, which I'm going to have to replace with the Redemption, which I've been fighting, trying to get the Redemption to fill this slot, and I just haven't found one that's stable enough. And we just got the new NT Sparkle or NT Metal Flake. I can't remember what it's called, but it's the stiffer plastic, it's supposed to be more overstable. I meant to bring it, but I left that at home. But that's what I'm going to be putting in for this slot. I'm imagining that's still not going to be quite as overstable as this disc, but I kind of want that because this Cardinal is a little more stable than I want for that slot. But that's what's going to be going there. It's going to be the Redemption. And then for the Samson, these are those really overstable mid-ranges. I'm not going to have a ton of use for these. If anything, these are going to be what I'm going to be using for like a longer version of a pillar. But luckily, I have an OT version of that, which is a lot less stable than these. Still probably more overstable than the Cardinal. So I'll definitely have a lot more variety when it comes to that section of my bag than I was thinking I might. But hopefully the gap between this and the Redemption isn't going to be that big. Because if it's not, that's going to be great, and I'm not going to have a big gap in my bag. But if it is, that's probably going to be the biggest gap I'm going to have in my bag. So really not too big of a deal, but that's going to be the one section of my bag I'm going to be worried about. Next, going into fairway drivers. This is another section I've got a lot of Goliath in, but the super overstable and the super understable side are going to be the really finicky parts. For example, the Brave's going to be coming out of my bag. This is that like hyzer flip to flat that'll kind of drift off to the right, but hopefully come back near the end. I think I can replace this with an Enoch, but I'm going to have to experiment with that just a little bit. For example, like, where is it? Yeah, I've got this, the Tour Series from last year that I know is flippier than it, but I think I can get it to work. I also have this orange one that I think is going to be a little more stable than the Brave, but maybe it'll beat into that area, hopefully. We'll see. I've also got this yellow Oasis arc, which is almost at the level of stability of this Brave, but not quite. I was hoping the Enoch would fill that slot because the Enoch's a little bit slower. And the thing I really liked about the Brave was the fact that it was super slow and I could get it to do that flight. Because the slower the disc is, obviously, the easier it's going to be to throw that shot consistently because you're not having to throw it near as hard. So I would like the Enoch to fill the slot that the Brave held, but this arc might fill it for me. Then we've got the NT Enochs. These are the most stable run. These are going to be that really neutral flyer. It's going to give me a little bit of ride to the right and then come back to the left. Then we've got the NT arc. These are just a touch more stable than these Enochs, but they also go a lot farther than the Enochs, like almost 50 feet farther for me. So that's going to be something I'm really going to like having in the bag, is going to be having different fairway drivers that do similar things but have different distances, which is something I haven't really had in the bag for a while, because I haven't really liked having like a 7-speed and a 9-speed that do the same thing, especially since I can't really fit a lot of stuff in this bag. But with having all Goliath in there, I think that's something I'm going to get to be able to mess around with, which is going to be fun. Then for these orange NT arcs, these are hopefully going to be able to replace my Thunderbirds. They're not quite as stable as a Thunderbird, have a little bit more glide than Thunderbirds, so we'll see. The Thunderbirds were also my forehand disc, like my main forehand disc, so that's going to be something that might suffer a little bit, but I think we might be able to cover with something we'll talk about in the distance driver category. And finally, for my fairways, we got the Xenon. I think I'm just going to have to stick chain breaker in the bag and hope that it kind of does the same thing. The chain breaker is way more stable than the Xenon, but I really didn't throw this that much, and for what I did throw it for, I think I can use the chain breaker to do the same thing. If I could get a hold of one of the Tour Series chain breakers from last year, that would actually kick the Xenon out, because that's what I had in the bag before I put the Xenon back in. So anybody watching has one of those, please reach out to me, because I will gladly buy it off of you. I don't care the wear, anything. I just don't really want to have this thing in my bag, because these things are just almost uselessly overstable. And then finally, going into the distance drivers, really going to be looking at some of the discs I'm going to really miss having in my bag. For example, the King, that's going to be coming out. These Ava Lutsenko Destroyers, these I'm really going to miss, because those are such a good run of Destroyer for me. This King, I think I was going to take out of the bag anyway, because I just really wasn't liking the plastic. It's just super slick, and just couldn't really get a consistent release with it. And then this Turn, kind of I really don't mind taking this out of the bag. I do like how it flies, but It's nothing crazy. But replacing the king is gonna be this new NT slingshot. These things fly so nice. I used to throw them nice, flat, and high, and they just kind of bump over on Anheuser, ride it the whole time while riding pretty straight, and then kind of flatten out near the very end. So I'm not really too worried about taking the king out because I think these are gonna replace it. Only thing is these slingshots are 13 speeds, so not gonna be quite as consistent as the king for me probably, but that's something I've been working on, is getting more consistent releases, more consistent shots out of my distance drivers. So this honestly might just kick the king out of the bag forever. So hopefully that's the case. The other slingshot I have in my bag is this other prototype NT one. These are really, really understable. Like, I haven't really tried throwing this as a roller disc, but I probably could pretty consistently. Like, even release it on some hyzer and get it all the way over to a roller angle. But this is going to be that really understable distance driver in my bag. And I think, where is it? Unfortunately, it looks like I forgot to grab my other slingshot that I was going to put in the bag. It's one of the Tour Series Goliath ones from last year. I think it's going to be similar stability to this NT slingshot, but I think it's going to have a little bit more stability, hopefully, near the end. Then for the more overstable section of my distance drivers, we're going to be putting in some more Raptures. This Oasis Metal Flake one is the most understable run of them, and this I think will fill in the slot that the Ava Destroyers had, where I can throw it flat, get it maybe to ride a little bit to the right, but it's going to have a really nice overstable finish for me near the end. I'm going to be able to get a nice amount of distance out of it for how overstable it is. I was honestly thinking about taking the Ava disc out of the bag just to try this out for a little bit, so it's a good excuse to do that. And these last two are the Goloasis Raptures. This one is my more overstable one. This one you've probably seen in my bag. This thing is like a PD2, just super overstable. Like, I can throw this into a headwind on Anheuser reliably and have it come all the way back out. This other one's from the same run, but it's just a little bit less stable. I actually just replaced my General with this disc because it feels almost exactly the same in the hand and everything. Super flat profile, but I just like having more Goliath in the bag than Dynamic. So but I think these two are going to replace my Thunderbirds as my main forehand discs, because I think I can get them to go about the same distance. And like I said, they're super flat, feel great in the hand, and like I said, don't really have a choice. We're going to have to make it work. All right, so that's everything taken out of the bag. Everything that's going in, going to be putting in these two Enochs to hopefully fill in some more slots. Let's see here. Once I get home, I'll put in the Rapture and that other slingshot, and I think that's everything. I also have this OT pillar that I'm going to put in over here. That's going to be kind of like my replacement for my Zone a little bit, because that's not near as stable as the blue one, but still has that same kind of pillar of flight where it just doesn't want to go very far. So these last three discs, these two are the NT swirly Enochs that I was talking about. These are my neutral fairway drivers. I don't know if the green ones and these brown, or I don't know what color that is. I don't know if they fly any different or not, but I might just throw this in here just to have a backup if anything. And this last one is my Goloasis Ambush, which that slingshot kicked out originally. So this will probably just be a backup for that, if anything. Yeah, guys, that's pretty much everything. Bag's basically complete once I get those last few missing pieces put in. But one thing I do want to add, or I meant to put this at the beginning of the video, but I forgot, is if I'm not able to shoot a 1,000 rated round by the end of the year with fully Goliath bag, I'm going to give away the King and the Sonic to one of y'all in the comments in the last video I make in this series. The first tournament I'm going to be playing this year is going to be next weekend out at Golden Grove. I think it's the One Love tournament, I think is what it's called. But I'm going to try and get that video done and made by Monday probably, or I might get it made on Monday, uploaded on Tuesday, something like that. But yeah, guys, I think that's pretty much everything. So if y'all have any critiques, anything you want to see in the videos covering my tournaments, everything like that, please let me know down in the comments. But thank y'all so much for watching. Please like and subscribe. Y'all wish me luck. Y'all have a good one.